A new era begins for Cleveland on Sunday with rookie Dillon Gabriel set to make his debut as the Browns starting quarterback against the Vikings in London. Gabriel will become the 41st QB since 1999 to start at least one game for the Browns, replacing veteran Joe Flacco after a 1-3 start. Here's Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski on why now was the right time to give the rookie the keys to the offense.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is we need to all be better. Daniel, we need to coach better. We need to block better, catch better, run better, all of the above. We need to be better. And I know the quarterback position gets quite a bit of scrutiny. I understand that, but this is about our entire team playing better.
There's a lot of excitement, but with that excitement for me, it's just extreme focus. And I've been through weeks of prep and a bunch of them, if you go back, but you just continue to attack it with your process and how you want to accomplish that. But I think it's us coming together, like I said, not to be, cliche or keep saying the same thing, but, we have to come together and create momentum for each other so that we can create positive plays, put points on the board, and just take it one play at a time.
We now welcome in our NFL analysts, Emory Hunt and Tyler Sullivan. Guys, I think we knew coming into the season the Browns would move on from Joe Flacco at some point this season, right? But Tyler, starting with you, are you surprised they moved on from Flacco now? And how do you think Gabriel fares in his NFL start in London, of all places?
Yeah, not necessarily surprised that they've turned away from Joe Flacco after seeing what Joe Flacco is at this stage of his career after a first month. I mean, you look at some of those numbers in terms of completion percentage, passer rating, turnovers, and all of that. Yeah, you have to credit your football team. You have to show your football team that that is not the standard, especially when you have a defense playing as well as it is. They're kind of playing with one hand tied behind their back when they have a quarterback that isn't up to snuff. And if Joe Flacco is going to produce the way that he was producing, you might as well see what the young kids have and give your team a puncher's chance on a week-in and week-out basis. And now, saying that, this spot for Dillon Gabriel in particular, and we do this all the time whenever there's a young rookie quarterback, all right, what are the pockets in the schedule? What are the windows where it would make sense? London against Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings defense, that to me doesn't feel like the softest landing spot for Dillon Gabriel to make his NFL debut. In fact, there has been no quarterback in NFL history to make his NFL debut outside of the United States. So another variable that he has to deal with playing in London, as you said, of all places. So it's not necessarily the softest spot, but it makes sense why Kevin Stefanski's making the move now.
It would have made sense in week one. We said this during the preseason, where if you look at how Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel played in the preseason, they were giving you at least Kenny Pickett level play. And if that was the case, then why not just start one of the rookies? And so, because what you did was just waste 4 games getting pitiful offense from Joe Flacco when you could have gotten growth from Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. So it felt like you handicapped the team right out of the gate. And so now you're going to start this guy against that defense in an adverse situation, and he's going to have to try to make do. It wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't look pretty, but that would have been fine for week one. But now you're trying to salvage your season, and you put him in a bad spot. So I'm glad he made the move to the youth movement, because this is a very solid team that could have gotten growth every game from a rookie quarterback starting. But now you kind of put everyone behind the 8 ball, because he's going to go out there and get his first start against arguably one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, against a pressure-style defense that's just like Cleveland. But maybe that's a silver lining. He's played against a good defense all throughout his time with the Browns, so maybe he may be more apt to hit the ground running against Minnesota.
So if the Browns do want to pull out this win, Emory, who do you think has to make the biggest impact? Is it Gabriel?
Yes, and the reason why you go with a guy like Dillon Gabriel is because he gives you at least a chance athletically. Flacco at 40 is not there anymore, and probably never was in terms of his athleticism. So at least with Dillon Gabriel, you get a guy that can get the ball out of his hands quickly, that can scramble around to buy time to find guys down the field. He's a point-and-shoot passer, kind of a point guard in that sense, but we know he does have a quick twitch fiber in his lower half in terms of him getting outside and being able to open up your playbook in terms of the sprint out passing game, the zone read, which was phenomenal to watch Joe Flacco run this zone read, because who's biting on Joe Flacco? Of course they're going to smash the run at the play side, because who's worried about Joe Flacco getting outside the back door and scrambling for yards? Now you have to worry about that at least with Dillon Gabriel. And again, the way he can operate the short, quick game, that gives you a chance to stay on pace offensively, which gives your defense a chance to rest a little bit, and maybe you may be able to play better complementary football as a result.
Yeah, Gabriel's certainly an X factor here, of course, just given by the position that he plays. But the Cleveland Browns need to do everything in their power to kind of ease him into this. We were just talking about how tough of a spot it is. But one way that they could help him kind of get his feet wet, at least for the first couple of snaps, first couple of series in his first NFL start, is to get the ground game going. So to me, it's Quinshon Judkins who's kind of the impact player here. And I actually think that this could be a good spot for him in this game to really kind of continue what this is in terms of an ascent for the young rookie running back. You look at the last few games for the Minnesota Vikings. Just go back last week in Dublin. Kenneth Gainwell, 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. Go to week 2. Bijan Robinson, 143 yards rushing. Heck, look at Tyler Algier at 76 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift even kind of crossed a serviceable number of 53 yards rushing, and I think that Quinshon Judkins right now is an ascending young player, and if all of a sudden he starts to get into a rhythm, the Browns running game is starting to become a factor in this game, that's only going to ease the pressure off of someone like Dillon Gabriel to not put the entire offense on his shoulders and try to go throw for throw with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first QB RB duo, rookie duo that is. We saw that with Scadaboo and Dart last week with the Giants as well. Now, the Vikings, on the other hand, continue their European tour after losing to the Steelers in Dublin last week. Carson Wentz, though, has been a pleasant surprise, stepping in for the injured J.J. McCarthy, over 500 yards passing, 4 tutties, 2 picks. But the offense is moving. JP, how hopeful, or Tyler, rather, how hopeful are you that Minnesota can make it work with Wentz moving forward?
Yeah, I think they can for the moment. Now, of course, that the whole point of this is for J.J. McCarthy to get fully healthy. They're going to go into a bye next week after being in London and in Dublin. So they're going to have some extended time here to have their young quarterback get fully healthy. But certainly, it's nice that you're at least able to kind of tread water a little bit offensively with Carson Wentz under center. But, you know, we talked about this with Sam Darnold as well. It's hard not to tread water when you're in this type of an offense with Kevin O'Connell at the helm. You have all of those skill position players. Jordan Addison coming back from his suspension last week. So overall, this is a really nice offense outside of the quarterback position. And if you just get capable play from Carson Wentz combined with that defense on that side of the ball with Brian Flores and all of those dudes, you're going to be competitive in football games.
Don't let big tackle propaganda fool you guys. Everyone wants to talk about left tackle, right tackle. It's really guard center guard play that is paramount for a quarterback to have success, which is why I look at Jalen Redmond of the Minnesota Vikings being the impact player that's going to have his way with his offensive line on the inside, because we saw him have 2 sacks last week against Pittsburgh, but this is someone that's starting to gradually get it together and look like a superstar for this Vikings defense. He starred in the UFL over the spring, so he's now compounding that success with NFL success. And if you have a short quarterback, the best friend to them would be an advantageous lane to step up into the pocket, find a passing window, get rid of the football. But when you have a Javon Hargrave, when you have a Jonathan Allen, and when you now have a Jalen Redmond, man, that's kind of tough for a guy at Dillon Gabriel's height and stature to try to find some way around. So now he's going to try to escape out the side door. And what happens when you run up against a Jonathan Grenard who's on the edge, or Dallas Turner that's on the edge, even without Andrew Van Ginkel, it makes the front seven a difficult challenge for this particular quarterback in this particular offensive line in this particular matchup.
Yeah, Tyler, who do you think has to step up for Minnesota to get a win this week?
Yeah, I think it's Jonathan Grenard. It jives with Emory was saying. In terms of this Minnesota Vikings defensive front is lethal. They apply so much pressure to the quarterback. They blitz at an extremely high rate, routinely under Flores. They're like top 5, top 2 in the NFL in terms of blitz rate. And that is just going to be so tough for this young quarterback to really try to withstand. And Jonathan Grenard is one of the key guys on this defense. You're talking about someone who's top 15 in the NFL in total pressures. I think that this is someone in particular, along with the entire defensive front, that could really be the impact of this game, because if things go awry for Dillon Gabriel early, this is the type of defense that'll make you start seeing ghosts.
Now, fun fact, Minnesota is 4-1 in overseas games. The Browns have only played outside of the States once, 2017, losing to the Vikings. So, fellas, let's get some predictions here. You taking the Vikings or Browns in this one, starting with you, Emory?
taking the Vikings, where Dillon Gabriel had success and where he had some success in the preseason, it's a short, quick pass. Guess what Minnesota's going to do? Put those cornerbacks up on the line of scrimmage, force him to make throws at the intermediate to deeper levels down the field. And they have some guys on the back end that could take the ball away. So that's going to get him to hold the football. And we just spoke about this defensive line trying to corral him around that pocket and kind of collapse the pocket around him. I think this is a bad defensive matchup for this particular quarterback, and I like the Vikings to win this ball game. So I will lay the points. Even though their offensive line is beat up, I still trust them to do enough to come away with the win.
Yeah, I co-sign with that. I don't love it because of what you just said, Emory. The Vikings offensive line is pretty banged up, but I just look at what the Minnesota Vikings defense is able to do against a rookie quarterback, making his first NFL start. That just feels like a recipe for things to kind of get out of sync pretty early and pretty fast for the Cleveland Browns offense. And I think that the Vikings offense, even with a depleted offensive line, has the acumen, has the skill at the skill position weapons to kind of put up points. I don't know if I feel the same way about the Cleveland Browns, so I'll lay the points here. I'll take the Vikings to win, but it wouldn't shock me if that Cleveland defense surprises us yet again like they did against Green Bay.
Emory, Hunt, Tyler, Sullivan, always a pleasure to get your insight, fellas. And we've got a great slate of matchups coming your way this Sunday. Bo Nix and the Broncos travel to Philly to face Jalen Hurts and the undefeated Eagles at 1 Eastern. Then at 4:05 Eastern, a battle of two one-loss squads as Baker Mayfield leads Tampa to Seattle to face Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, only on CBS and Paramount+.
Wasn't too long ago, Dillon Gabriel was playing in the Big Ten. And speaking of, the undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes sure look poised to repeat, but we're going to have to reverse a decades-long trend for that to happen. We'll talk about it next.